A lot of investors saw the technology sector as a good place for dividend-paying stocks and also decent growth opportunities in 2011. So will investors stay sweet on tech in 2012? Our next guest says he will be cautious during a year of global growth slowdown as well as worldwide leadership changes. Joining me now is analyst David Garrity. He is founder of GVA Research. And David, tech may have been an overall safe place to hide in 2011, but over the past 1 month, tech is actually the worst performing industry group in the S&P 500. You say you're concerned about the first half of next year. Why is that?
Well, I think if we look at the last month, one thing that we had to look at that was very significant was the fact that Oracle, obviously a very, very significant player in enterprise software and a big seller into enterprises, had their first shortfall, actually, in almost a decade. And for a company that has done such a remarkable job of managing their earnings, to see things slow down and obviously miss numbers, people saw this as being a canary in the coal mine as far as the demand for technology products and services in the first half of 2012.
Right. Red Hat also warned on its billings, or its billings didn't come in quite as people as expected. Is there reason to worry about corporate capital spending on technology in the coming year?
I think that there's some very large, significant reasons to look at. I think first and foremost, the fact that you've got leadership changes or election campaigns taking place in about 9 countries out of the G20 that represent about 50% of global GDP lends a certain element of uncertainty in terms of the outlook. And on that balance, you probably see corporations pulling back before you even take into account the fact that economically, Europe clearly is in trouble.
Right, the external macro shocks of what could happen in Europe. Stocks with good dividends and buyback prospects have become the market darlings. We talked about that leading into your interview. Are we going to see the tech sector start to return more cash to shareholders? Is someone like Apple going to start instituting a dividend policy?
I think certainly whether we look at starting up dividends or actually putting cash to work in terms of making acquisitions, which we think is actually a fairly decent prospect in the first half of 2012, investors are certainly going to be demanding that companies with strong balance sheets, which certainly is the hallmark of the tech sector, provide different means of return to investors, dividends being one, and certainly Apple in this regard, a very big candidate.
You mentioned M&A and that being something to look ahead to next year. Does that mean that companies believe prices are still cheap?
I think we're in a situation here where if we see a pullback in stock market valuations in the first half of the year because of the broader concerns about the global economy, that large players in the technology space will see more favorable valuations from a technology acquisition standpoint. And obviously, if stock market prices are down, we think that we would see significant corporates step up and take advantage of the opportunity.
All right, let's name a couple of names here. Let's talk about cloud computing, because that was certainly one hot area. Which names would stand to do well next year?
I mean, certainly the major players here, VMware. Also, if we look at EMC from the standpoint of providing both software to manage as well as also hardware to manage more of the content that's being moved over towards the cloud. So from that standpoint, we think both those names are well positioned.
How about Research in Motion? It's taking a real beating this year and has warned basically that that playbook is kind of dead on arrival.
Well, from the standpoint of Research in Motion, you've seen a lot of speculation around at the end of the year as to who it is who's going to come in and acquire Research in Motion, given the fact that their stock price has fallen by about 75% in the last year. I would argue that, as things stand right now for Research in Motion, given that they are moving their product line over to BB10 software, and the only product out there that supports BB10 right now in the marketplace is their Playbook, and this is a product that's costing them a lot of money, i.e. about a $450 million inventory write-down in the last quarter, they're going to have to continue to support that product perhaps to the same amount, and I don't think Research in Motion fundamentally comes out the back end of this until possibly the fourth quarter of 2012. That gives you a very long time in stock market timelines for this stock to be under pressure.
Yeah, very long time. Okay, thank you so much, David Garrity, giving us his outlook for the tech sector in 2012. He is the founder of GVA Research.